All right, back again for another Jujutsu Kaisen anime recap review. Kind of a little bit of a deep dive. So this is episode 10. We just saw the high school kid that was getting bullied in the last episode go through a bunch of stuff. He's back in the spotlight. His name is Yoshino. Yoshino something. I can't remember quite off the top, but again we start out with he's actually in a movie club and he's talking with his friends, and they're just chilling, and some more bullies come in. I think some of the bullies might be the same. This might be earlier or later from when the movie theater part happened. Kind of hard to say. I think it's some of the same guys, because later on it flashes to this point again where the episode starts. But anyways, he's getting bullied. He kind of tries to stand up for himself a little bit. One of the guys is holding a movie and he's trying to take it. He gets beat up again. Basically, he gets hit in the face, and he gets bullied again, and he gets beat up pretty bad. I'm pretty sure the character that beats him up was a different character that we haven't seen, but they close the door and kick his ass in that club room, and then from there it cuts to the intro opening, which is actually a really good opening. I haven't really watched it before this episode. It does a good job. It kind of reminds me of Black Clover and some other good anime where the opening actually tells the whole story of the arc you're in without giving too much away. You see a bunch of the characters, but it doesn't really give anything away. So good opening for the show overall, and I like that aspect of it. So after the opening, we cut to Yoshino, the high school kid who's getting bullied. He's in. The demon who represents people's hate for each other, which actually we know his name's Mahito. Yoshino called him that in the last episode, and we also saw the bad guys from earlier, the volcano guy and the human kind of looking guy. We saw those guys call him Mahito as well. But anyways, Yoshino is in Mahito's lair with him, kind of like in the sewer, like a big open area, and he's kind of monologuing about kind of some ideals. Anyways, what he's trying to come to a conclusion on and kind of trying to tell Mahito is people should strive to be indifferent rather than to love or to hate. And he monologues about this, I think, at the beginning of the episode when he's getting beat up, where he says basically it's not like why is it worse to just leave someone alone than to kick their ass or be mean to them. It'd probably be easier if you just did nothing and had no inclination or no any kind of relationship, any kind of anything, in any interaction whatsoever with someone else. So he's a little bit dark. We know he's been getting bullied, but that really kind of shows like kind of where his mindset's at. He'd rather not. He doesn't understand why these bullies or just people in general have to go out of their way to be mean to others rather than just having no objective relationship or any kind of tangible relationship, interaction, anything. Should just be left the fuck alone if you don't want to deal with someone, rather than be mean or kick their ass or anything like that. And we also get to see Mahito's powers here a little bit. We saw him a little bit how he transmorphed those guys like heads and totally killed the guys in the movie theater in the last episode. It shows humans that he's done experiments on, and he has a really big human. He's like, I tried to do an experiment to see how big I can make someone, and it's just a big disfigured human. Looks like they're basically dead, in a lot of pain. And then there's another smaller human who's basically fitting in someone's hand, and he basically asks him does that freak you out? And he's like, well, if it was like someone close to me like my mom, I'd probably hate you, but I'm pretty indifferent about it. And then Mojito says, you shouldn't strive for indifference, because he's like, you say you strive for indifference, but yet you want revenge on these guys, that are bullying you. And Yoshino's like, so are you saying that's contradictory? Then he kind of goes into like Mojito's kind of like power, basically. It's about his power is based around human souls, and he kind of asks him like, do you believe in people having hearts? And he, like, kind of like the emotional aspect of it. And he's like, no, people don't. Mojito's like, no, people don't have hearts, they have souls. And that's kind of how his power works. He touches the souls, and he claims he's the only one that kind of understands anything about souls, because it's unrelated to cursed energy or anything like that. And he says basically that's how his power works, is he can touch souls, he can see them, and he kind of understands, what people are by their souls. And that's how he, fucks people up. Like, he changes the shape of their soul, and then it totally like fucks people up and can make them huge, small, tear their heads in half, like he did with those fucking guys in the movie theater. He kicked those guys' ass, but pretty crazy. He essentially goes on and says, even though like I'm the only one that understands it, it's like the soul's nothing like crazy. It's just like a machine. It's just like the body. Like, there's no deep spiritual meaning or anything like that. It's just there, and it's not like it's some over the top, some crazy like altruistic, some religious like crazy thing. It's not really affected by anything. So he's like, you shouldn't get trapped in the difference between an indifference, love, hate. Like, you don't need any consistency, because it doesn't affect your soul or anything like that. If you feel hungry, you should eat. And he's like, if you feel like you want revenge, you should just kill someone, and it's not going to really like be a bad thing. So it's kind of crazy. You could see him kind of being crazy about it. Spiritual, morally based kind of stuff. Anyways, we finally get back to Itadori. He's pulling up on the kid like he was in episode 9 at the very end, when he's pulling up on him and he's got the box of 2 demons, or 2 spirits, or whatever they are. We learn that they're weak, and basically they're planning on using those to see if he can see cursed spirits, to kind of like gauge, what level of involvement he had with those guys at the movie theater, because he was getting spotted on camera leaving the scene. So they're planning on coming up with those, and they kind of go through the scenarios like, is he gonna see him, attack him, see him run, like whatever happens. And it really doesn't play out like that. He runs over there, Itadori runs over there, and actually Yoshino gets in a conversation with one of the teachers at his school, and the teacher's like, hey, like, you didn't go to the funeral of those guys, like, what happened? Like, I thought you were friends. And then like Yoshino's about to lose it. Like, he's like, what? Like, he just starts like welling up inside, like he's going through all his emotions. He's like, this guy doesn't know anything, like he's just never had a real world experience. Like, I'm gonna fucking, like, basically he's like, it looks like he's getting ready to do some jujutsu on his ass. Like, he's putting like up like a sign, like he's gonna fuck him up. And like it flashes back to a part with Mahito where he's like, yeah, do whatever you want and I'll sanction you, like saying, it's cool, whatever. And also earlier, right before this, we get to see like the first kind of like early power scaling stuff. Like they've mentioned it before, like this is a special grade curse, and then like there's grade 1 curse and stuff like that, and they kind of have a short little graphic of what it's like, and they compare like a level 2 sorcerer is like the scale, the way it relates is they're on par with the level 1 cursed spirit, because like technically the 2 should be able to beat the 1, like kind of like that. So it's kind of weird, but I'll put a picture up here. But anyways, back to Itadori, and Yoshino, like, he's getting pissed. He's about to fucking destroy this teacher because the teacher pissed him off. And Itadori, like, runs in there, like, with the cursed spirit and, like, fucking totally saves his ass. All while this is happening, it's flashing back and forth between this and Nanami, that was what Itadori called him and he got pissed. Nanami and Mahito. Nanami tracked him down in the sewers, and he's basically started his altercation with him. So we cut in, and Nanami's taken out a couple of those transfigured humans, and Mahito comes out, and they basically start going at it, and it's like a high-paced, like, these guys are both super strong. They're, like, going super fast. It's not like Dragon Ball Z or anything where they're, like, flying around, but it's, like, animated really well. They're flying around and hitting each other. And Nanami hits one of his lined attacks on him, and he's like, and Mahito's like, I thought I blocked that. And it's just like, it's pretty crazy. And then but even, like, as they're fighting, Nanami's like, Mahito, well, he doesn't know his name, Mahito, he's like, this cursed spirit reminds me of Gojo, though, because he's like kind of carefree, but he's, like, got a little bit of a sadistic side to him, so kind of a little bit crazy. But yeah, pretty cool. He lands a shot on him. He's like, I blocked it. And then he's like, that's kind of weird. Like, is your technique like this? And then he's like, what do you mean like this? And they kind of never touch on that again. So I wonder what that means. But then he kind of tells Nanami about how shit's related to the soul. He kind of questions him on it. He's like, what came first, chicken or the egg, soul or the body? And then they kind of have some dialogue while they're fighting. And Nanami's like, man, I just fucking want to get done by 5:30 because I'm technically off by then. So he's kind of funny. He's got that bland kind of, like, business guy kind of style still. But all the while, he's like, man, this guy could talk. Like, he's a cursed spirit, and he's talking kind of like that other guy. So he's like, well, this must be kind of like what Gojo is dealing with that volcano head, bro. Anyways, after that, then Mahito, the cursed spirit, starts throwing all kinds of crazy bodies. He has, like, I guess he says he keeps them in stock. He has, like, the tiny humans that he showed Yoshino earlier. He's got, like, a bunch of them, and he's just, like, basically using them like projectiles, like making them grow huge and, like, shooting them at Nanami, and it's crazy. So when we get back to Itadori, he jumps in trying to like get a reaction out of Yoshino, he jumps in right when, like, Yoshino's about to fucking murk the teacher with some sort of shit. So I'm guessing he knows some sort of dark jujutsu or something. He was making the hand sign, like I said earlier, and then it was going to be crazy. But he kind of, like, jumps in, like, falls down, like, it was crazy. The teacher's like, what the fuck? Like, are you gymnast? Like, what's going on? And then Itadori just, like, gets right up in Yoshino's face. He's like, hey, come with me. We need to talk, like, this, that. And it kind of seems like Yoshino knows something about Itadori. I don't know if it's related to the school uniform or what, but he looks at a button on his vest. He's like, that button? Like he kind of knew about it, but I'm not sure. But the teacher's, like, trying to talk to Itadori and, like, sell him, like, hey, I'm talking to this dude. And Itadori just straight up, like, pantsers him. It's like, this is important. Like, and he pantsers him and he runs off with his pants. It's crazy. And then, like, it flips back to Yoshino, and Itadori's basically, like, right behind him, right? And he's like, damn, you ran that lap already? Yoshino's like, damn, you ran that whole lap already? And he's like, yeah, it was nothing. Like, we already know Itadori's a, like, physical specimen. Like, he's a physical freak. Like, he's, like, crazy before jujutsu shit. So not a lot happens, actually, though, with their conversation. He's like, why'd you do that? He's like, you hated that. Yoshino's like, why'd you do that? And Itadori's like, well, you hated that guy, right? And he's like, huh? He's like, oh, Itadori's like, oh, did you not? And he's like, Yoshino's like, yeah, actually I did. So, but then they start walking, and then it cuts back away, and we got Nanami fighting Mahito again, and, you know, Mahito's throwing the body shit at him still, and Nanami's cutting it up, and he kind of sees a face in there, and it's, like, crying. And then he flashes back to the nurse lady, and she's like, hey, like, just kill them. You can't save them after they've been disfigured and transfigured by that guy, so don't worry about it. And he doesn't seem like he's affected, but he wipes the tear off the face because he's like standing right on one of the human things, and he's like, the cursed spirit's like, hey, like, he's like talking shit, like, you can't let your emotions get in this or I'm gonna fuck you up. He's like, I'm not. And he's like, bullshit. Mahito's like, bullshit, I see your soul. But they just keep fighting. It's crazy. Mahito actually does some weird shit and turns his like legs into like horse legs, and he runs up on Nanami, and he like puts his hands on him, and it's like purple shit comes out. And he's like, Jujutsu sorcerers usually don't protect their soul, and that's what I fuck with. So like, if I touch you a few more times, like, you're fucking dead. You're gonna be under my control, pussy. And it's crazy. It seems like it's getting pretty intense. Some more good action kind of scenes where they're like exchanging, blows. None of them are connecting with each other, but it's just good combat. And they kind of end up in this wide open space kind of towards the end of the episode. And then Nanami looks down at his watch, and it's like pushing past. It's like getting close to 5:30 when he's like earlier, because earlier he's like, I don't want to go past 5:30 because then that means I'm working overtime. So like, he takes his tie off and he wraps it around his fist, and Yahito like freaks out and he's like, what? Like, his cursed energy is getting higher. And then we just see Nanami get this aura of cursed energy, and then it ends and it's like, fuck, like, we were about to see some badass shit right there. So overall, kind of cool episode. I didn't really feel like I was too blown away. I didn't get to see a lot of Itadori. A lot of background on that Yoshino guy and kind of like his mindset, his morality. And then we get a lot on Mahito, where he's like, we see his craziness, basically his powers, his soul related shit. But yeah, we're definitely going to see some shit next time, because they ended it on that teaser with basically like a cliffhanger where Nanami powers up all sick. But yeah, anyways, overall kind of just moving it along type of episode. Nothing too crazy. There wasn't a lot to unpack like in that last episode 9, even though there wasn't a ton of action. Still high quality show, great animation. Should be watching it. Anyways, that's all for this unpacking, this anime recap review, kind of my initial thoughts, opinions. Not a ton going on here. But yeah, if you like the video, go ahead and like, subscribe. I'm going to be doing some more. Like I said, I haven't gotten to it quite yet. I plan on doing at least one more series. I haven't decided if I want to do Black Clover or Fire Force or something else. So feel free to leave a comment if you have any suggestions. But that's it for this one.